What's up, Internet? My name is Michael Cook, and this is Blue Giant Media. We're here to help connect through gaming. Today, we're going to put the spotlight on Steve Finn's Biblios by Yellow. In this game, you're going to be playing in 2 rounds where you're basically going to be auctioning off, or it's sort of a draft for the first portion and then auction the second portion of the game. So we're going to take a look at how the game plays, quick rules overview, and then we're going to move on to what I do like, what I don't like, and who may or may not like Biblios. Here we have Biblios set up for 2 players, and the main difference for setup is basically just how many cards you're going to remove. You're going to choose 6 money cards to remove, and then you're going to shuffle everything together and choose 21 additional random cards that could be or could not be money. And you're going to set all the dice there with their 3 face up. Then for the active player, they will draw as many cards as there are players plus 1. You're going to choose 1 to keep for yourself, 1 to put in the auction pile, and then the rest go face up for the other players to choose. And in a 2-player game, that just means it goes to them. But if there were more players, then the person to your left would choose them around until all the cards are chosen. So here, this player might choose to take this one, send this one into the auction pile to try and get it later, and then send 1 money to this player. Now, whenever you take a purple card, it's going to immediately take its effect. If you put the purple card over here, it's going to take its effect when it's claimed in the second half of the game. This one will just add 1 to one die and reduce 1 to another. So you're going to take one of these and you're going to bump this one, for instance, up to 4, and maybe you don't want that one, so you drop that down to 2, and then that goes in the discard pile. And the reason you're going to do that is because at the end of the game, whoever has the most total power in each of these colors will claim the number of points shown on the dice. So you'll go through the entire deck doing this, divvying the cards up, and then in the second half, let's say it's like that, like that. So then that's the first half of the game. So now we've reached like halfway through. And again, whoever the active player is will take this deck, you will turn it over, and then this is where the auction phase begins. So then if it is a card that is numbered with a color, so meaning one of these types of books, you're going to be bidding money. So I'd say, 4 money, and then this person might say, oh, I'm going to bid, or I either have to raise or pass. And if you pass, then you get to add this card to your hand. If a money card comes up, then you're going to just bid a number of cards, because at that point you're going to be able to bid leftover cards that maybe you don't want. Like maybe I know for sure that I'm either going to lose or going to dominate this, brown. So maybe I might choose to discard 2 cards in order to get that money to increase my opportunity to buy other colored cards towards the end. And then at the end, you will look and see, okay, this would be 7 power in brown. So you total up by the number in the corner. Whoever has the most brown books, types of books, resources or whatever, is going to claim that die. So that'll be 4 points. And then whoever claims this one will get 3 points. Whoever claims this one will get 2 points. And then whoever claims these will be 3 points each. Then you look and see who has the most points. Most points at the end of the game is the winner. Then if there's a tie, you tie by money, and that is the game. Now that you have a pretty good idea of how Biblios plays, I want to let you know what I do like about the game. I do like that even with a few people, it's a pretty good auction game, which is relatively rare, but I feel like it's getting a little bit more common that you can find some good drafting games out there. Not drafting, auction games with 2 players. There's a couple good ones out there. But this one, it's light, it's quick. I do like that quite a bit. It's not a game that overstays its welcome. Another thing that I like about the game is just the packaging. The production quality of it is excellent. The theme doesn't necessarily interest me. The art on the cards doesn't necessarily interest me that much, but the way that the box is put together is super functional. The insert is great. The way that you kind of flip it open, it looks like a book on the shelf. I mean, look at this thing. That looks like a book. And the way it opens is just great. And the way you have the kind of basically the rules summaries pretty much all on the inside. Very, very functional packaging and very, very well done production. So I like that quite a bit. Things that I don't like about the game, one of the biggest things is just that the scoring is so low and in some ways almost arbitrary, because it's so easy for one particular die to kind of just, its value just goes up and down, up and down, up and down. You just play tug of war with that one die and nothing really changes. But I do think that it lends itself very well to scoring because there is that mystery aspect of not knowing what the person drafted versus what they're auctioning now and whether they intend to use those for money or drafting or something later to be able to. There's a great interplay there. But in the end, it bothers me that your final score is going to be like 8. And because it's so low, it's hard to kind of get an edge. I almost wish that there was multiple ways to score, that it was a little bit more or more points involved so that it was easier to kind of find those edges that might be worth it rather than have it all hinge on just this one thing, because the difference between 7 and 8 points, you're talking however many percent, 12% of your score, something like that. So to me, it struggles with the scoring being compelling enough, in my opinion. And also, it doesn't have a lot of weight for me. I like a game, I'm not a big heavy gamer, but I much prefer, if I'm going to do an auction type game, to play a game along the lines of Goa or Keyflower, which, I mean, those are definitely heavier games, heavier on the edge of the spectrum for me even. I'm not a big heavy gamer, like I said, but this one it's a little bit too light, and the scoring it's lackluster. But people who will like this game are people who really like the quick games. You sit around the table and you play cards. It's an easy game to have conversations over, to sit there and pass things around, to joke around, be like, sucker, you take this card, haha. It's not that the take that is really strong. I don't want to imply that, because that's another thing I guess I do like about the game, is there's not a lot of take that. I'm not big on that. But it's a game that's real social, and I think that is phenomenal. I think that's something that's great. I wouldn't call it a party game, but it is very social. People who will not like this game are going to be people who don't necessarily want to do any form of counting cards, because I don't think that's a requirement, but there's a little bit of like, okay, there's this many of these, there's some taken out of the box. I feel your odds you can weigh them quite a bit, and if you don't like a game where you have to weigh your odds a whole lot, then this is not going to be, and that's just one aspect that you may not like about it. So I don't think it's a strong one. I don't think it's going to be overwhelming, but there's that. And on the whole, I think that the only thing that I can really say is that it's a solid game. I know it's a very well-regarded game, but it's also not a game that's ever going to wow you. It's a game that you aren't likely going to be like, dude, we gotta play Biblios. It's just a game that when you play, you go, oh, yeah, it was a good time. And that's not a knock against it, but that is something that you need to be aware of. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any comments for us, please let us know in the comments section below. And take a look in the description section where you can find an unboxing and a setup and playthrough of Biblios, as well as a link to macronovagames.com where you can buy Biblios and a whole bunch of other great games. Until next time, have a wonderful day.